It seems like a formality, but Urban Meyer has officially announced that Trevor Lawrence, the number one overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, will be the starting quarterback to start the season for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Meyer made a bit of a stir last week when he said that there was an open competition between Lawrence and incumbent mustachioed starter Gardner Minshew. That is not the case anymore. Lawrence this preseason has gone 20 of 32 for 184 yards and no touchdowns, but also has not thrown an interception. And this speaks to something that we already kind of knew, and that is that this was Trevor Lawrence's job to lose, and he really didn't do anything to lose it. That was always it. It was, if Trevor Lawrence struggled mightily in the preseason and in training camp, maybe they would have started with Minshew to start off the season, give him a few weeks to kind of get more acclimated to the offense, more acclimated to the NFL system. Doesn't seem to be the case. It looks like he's good enough in training camp to start right away, or at least not bad enough to not start right away. And look, I think it was a formality. The only reason Urban Meyer announced that there was a quote open competition is because he wanted to bring the best out in both of these quarterbacks, because Gardner Minshew is also a good quarterback that we'll talk about more in depth later. But I think now the bigger question becomes, now that we know he's a starter, is what can we expect from Trevor Lawrence? And there's a lot riding on him. The Jacksonville Jaguars went 1-15 last year. This is not a good football team. And they believe that Trevor Lawrence is the answer to a lot of their problems, at least over the next few years. And the truth is, he might be. Trevor Lawrence, coming out of college, was the number one prospect in the draft. He was a number one quarterback prospect. He probably was the number one player prospect. I had higher. I think Penei Sewell and maybe Devontae Smith were better positional players at their positions than Trevor Lawrence. But I still think Trevor Lawrence was going to go number one no matter which team selected him. And he probably should have, because this guy has a ceiling of an NFL Hall of Famer. That is just truth. And it's not just about, oh, look how big he is, look how strong his arm is. It is about, if you watch the games, this guy makes reads very well. He throws the ball with good enough velocity. He's accurate. He's a leader. He's got everything you want. And he's shown that he has that intangible trait that leads to development over time. And he's a guy, I think, who's going to develop into I think, a Pro Bowl level quarterback. And who knows what the future might hold for him. But what can we expect immediately from Trevor Lawrence? I think you can expect struggles immediately. And that is not an indictment on Trevor Lawrence. That is not an indictment on, oh, hey, you shouldn't have gone number one. He's going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. This was a 1-15 football team last year with Gardner Minshew at the helm. And Minshew was a damn good quarterback too. But he couldn't overcome it. And I think it's going to be hard, because that offensive line is not good. Trevor Lawrence is going to get hurt. And we've seen over the preseason, he was rushed a lot when he dropped back to throw. And you're going to expect to see a lot of that throughout the postseason, or throughout the regular season, rather. And the other question is, like, what can we expect from the Jags overall? I mean, even with Lawrence at the helm, I think Lawrence is going to maybe light a spark in the same way that Joe Burrow did for the Bengals last year. And it wasn't apparent if you looked at the stats or the scoreboards or the record. Like, the Bengals were last year, they were a pretty bad football team. And that's a reason they were picking top 5 again in the draft. But the reason why we saw what we saw from the Bengals last year was, and we weren't concerned necessarily about Joe Burrow, was we saw that he was poised. We saw that he could hang. And I think that's what you're going to see from Trevor Lawrence this year. A lot of poise and the ability to kind of hang in there and be like, all right, he's not ready now, but this guy's going to be special one day. And I think that's what we can expect from Trevor Lawrence. I think that's what we can expect from the Jacksonville Jaguars football team. Look, this is not a team that's going to go, 10-6 or 10-7 because there's 17 games now, or 9-8 or whatever it's going to be. They're probably going to struggle a little bit, but I think they're going to be in some games, because this was even a competitive team last year, early on in the year when Minshew was at the helm. So for Trevor Lawrence, I think the expectations or the goal is to just play ball this season, learn, acclimate, and adapt to the NFL game. That is your goal. Your goal isn't to go out there and make the playoffs. If it happens while you're doing all of that, amazing. Don't see it really happening, but if it does happen, that is an amazing feat, and he should be proud of that. But the goal is to stay upright, stay healthy, and learn the NFL game, adapt. And that's the biggest thing for a young quarterback, learning how to adapt from the college game to the NFL game. Trevor Lawrence, he played Alabama. He played a lot of tough schools. He played against a lot of people that are in the league right now, so he knows it. And he played at some of the highest stages in college football. He's going to have to play better than he ever did then in order to stay upright in the NFL. And it's not going to be apparent immediately. I promise you. There's going to be a lot of people who they're going to see Trevor Lawrence first few weeks and be like, "Oh my God, he's struggled. He's only completing blah, blah percent of his passes and yada yada yada, et cetera, et cetera." And they're going to write him off as a bust immediately because some people just don't like Clemson. But in actuality, what you look for a young quarterback on a bad team is poise, ability to shake off mistakes, and the ability to hang in there. And you will see that from Trevor Lawrence. Thanks for watching this video from Real Take Sports Talk. Remember to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Also remember to check out our live show every single Thursday at 8 p.m. right here on the YouTube channel. And remember, keep it real.